Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for the live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator. And my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then we get together in these weekly chats to talk about a topic. We'll see how it goes. There's usually more, but anywho. If you're not new here, then you know we have a new poll every week. And these are usually inspired by questions that I get throughout the weeks preceding. So I know this is a topic that is probably hot right now. But the poll for this week is if you have experienced a potential or what you believe to be perhaps a potential scammer in your voiceover audiobook job searching endeavors. And we're going to talk about how to spot them today. But first, let's just see where you guys are at. That's why we do these polls to sort of guide the conversation. So it looks like we have about 26 votes so far. Looks like the majority you haven't started yet, so that's good. So if you have experienced what you believe to be a potential scammer, then please share your experience in the comments or in the chat. That way we can get not only what my experience is with this, but also yours. So hopefully the people watching can have a good idea of what to look for and how to handle it before or as they progress and venture out into the world of voiceover. Okay. Let's do this. Let's take this banner off. I'm trying to decide where to start. Let's do this because I hate making people wait until the end of the video to give you guys what I have experienced. But as you know, and we talk about here on my channel a lot, is all the different platforms in which you can find voiceover work or audiobook work. And I guess it even extends out to social media too. But if you're approached with an offer that almost sounds too good to be true, perhaps, you know, in terms of the pay rate that they're offering you, if there are, more often than not, it's usually, I mean, what it comes down to, if it sounds too good to be true, then it typically is. But what I always recommend doing is to do your research. Do not click links. If a client, especially a client, let's just, for example, Upwork or Fiverr, if you're on one of those platforms, because I see these most often on these platforms, you'll have somebody reach out to you and says, hey, I love your profile. There's usually a lot of flattery, a lot of compliments, right? And they'll say something to the effect of, I love your profile. I found your voice. I find it perfect for my situation. I have this really big project. It pays XYZ. It's for XYZ company. And, click the link below to access the script or to get the details or something of that sort. I never, ever, ever ever click links in any kind of correspondence, initial correspondence, without doing the due diligence. There could be, not always, but there could be a nefarious purpose to the link, right? It could be to download malware onto your computer. It could be for a number of different things that you don't want to happen. So don't ever click links. What I tell people when they give me a link to click to access a script, for example, I will ask them, or I will tell them, based on previous experiences, however you want to word it, I don't click links, especially in initial messages with people. So if you could, please, perhaps screenshot, type it in, copy, paste. If you can provide the script in another way that I don't have to download or click anything, that would be preferable. I've never had a client say, absolutely not, this is just too much trouble, so on and so forth, if they are well-meaning. If this is a legit opportunity, more often than not, I think almost every time for me, maybe 99% of the time, they'll say, oh, I totally get it. Because chances are they've probably been presented with something similar too in this world of scamming that we live in, unfortunately. And they'll say, okay, great. I'll just give me a second and I'll figure out another way to get this to you. If they don't respond, then you probably didn't want to do anything with them anyway, right? They dodged a bullet as far as I'm concerned. That's a big one, providing links within an initial message. Some of these platforms will enable you to do like a background check to check their user profiles. The client that is reaching out to you, you could take a look at them and see if, maybe how long they've been on the platform, where they're located, if their payment method is verified, if they have done business on that platform before and how much they've spent, what kind of reviews they have, what kind of, if it's like Fiverr, what kind of gigs do they offer, if any. You can look at this stuff. You can look this stuff up. Also, if it's from, let's just say it's somebody that says he or she is the, marketing director for XYZ company, you can open up a new tab on your computer, Google in that company, and do a little research on that company. Right? That's what I would do. I would do a little research on them first, and then perhaps go directly to their website and look up in the contact us, about us, our team, right? And see if you can find that person and if it is in fact a legit person. That's what I would do and have done. Another scam that I see quite a bit is perhaps they have a employee sort of intake onboarding form that they want you to fill out. If you are a freelancing voice actor, you're going to be 1099. And in most of these cases, you're going to be a contractor for hire. You are a freelancer. You're not becoming a new employee of this company. And scammers do this. They have forms that they want you to fill out because they're just looking for your personal details. Ultimately, they're looking for your name, your address, your birth date, your social security number in some cases. So there's no need for any of that. There's no need for any of that. A 1099 perhaps, if it's a big company and you're doing a lot of business with them. But if you're on a pay-to-play or a freelance marketplace, all of that stuff is taken care of by that platform. So there's no need for you to provide any personal information at all. There's nothing that you need to provide other than the job in question, right? What they're asking you for, if you choose to take the job. There's no need for anything else. There's no need for email addresses on these platforms. There's no need for invoicing. Well, I shouldn't say that because some of them you do need to invoice, but your personal information is not on that invoice. think I'm getting ahead of myself. I would even say messages that you get that have a lot of grammatical errors or start with dear sir or madam. I've seen vague descriptions of what the project is. It's just sort of, this is how cool and awesome and big of a company we are, but it's not quite clear what they want from you, is also could be a red flag. If they want you to download certain apps or download certain, really anything to do the job or to do something for them, collect funds for them, or, if it just, trust your intuition. If it feels wrong, then I would listen and perhaps say, this is probably not for me. More things will come to mind, but if you're in Facebook groups or masterminds, workshops, Discord servers, anything like that are VO audiobook related, you could also just, pose a question in one of those platforms and say, hey, has anybody worked with this guy or this company, or has anyone seen this before, heard of this guy before? And you might get some responses saying, yeah, stay away from that guy. Or, you know what I mean? If it just feels sort of fishy, right? But I think what's most prevalent in my experience has been links, clicking links. I just don't do it. I'm hoping that you guys have been sharing in the chat. Let's see. Got too many windows open. Let's close that. So let's go over to the comments and see what the insight is here. Let's take away this banner. Let's go over to the comments. Who's first in this morning? PSV Odyssey. Paul was here before I was here in the studio. Very early riser. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Good morning, Paul in Arkansas. Good morning to you. Caretaker Saxon says, oh, yay, forgot it was Tuesday. I do too. There's no windows in here. I lose track of the day. All the time, the day, my cave of wonders. Glowen is here. Hey, Glowen. Good afternoon, all. Hope you're all having a good day. Not sure I've seen or would even recognize a scammer yet. You may have seen one, but perhaps didn't entertain it. I think for the most part, you'll see a lot more scammers or potential scammers in the beginning of your career because they're trying to take advantage of what they think you don't know. They're trying to take advantage of what they perceive to be your ignorance. But all of these different platforms, side note, a lot of these different platforms will not allow you, they'll try to protect you. And it seems like they're just being really rigid or strict about their policies. But in reality, they're trying to protect you by not allowing you to share personal contact details. Yeah, they don't want you taking business off the platform either, but it's there to protect you as well, not to share your email address, any kind of personal contact information, none of that. They don't want you, they're trying to keep you, A, on the platform, and B, trying to keep you from, being taken advantage of by scammers. Who brought the donuts? Actually, I did today. I brought the donuts today. Dylan says, I've never met a scammer, but I can tell you how to spot one. Just send me $50 to secure your commitment, and I'll refund you $60 after the work is done and delivered. Yeah, that's a great example, Dylan. That's, you won't see this kind of stuff so much in voiceover or audiobook, but I mean, if it just doesn't make sense, if you have to pay to do the job or to download something or to, if it just doesn't feel like it's necessary, to just record a voiceover and send it, then it's probably off, and you should probably say no thank you. Clown says, yeah. Blech. That was funny, Dylan. Uh, Kirsten Calais Anderson says, aloha from Georgia. Downloaded Adobe Audition. And I am feeling much better about learning. This is much more understandable than I found Audacity to be. I was in the same boat. Once I switched from Adobe Audition or from Audacity to Adobe Audition, it made a whole lot more sense to me. It was just like it was more intuitive. It was easier to follow. I could see and do a whole lot more. It just made sense, right? It was like a whole world had opened up. I really like Adobe Audition. I'm glad it helped. I'm glad you like it. Caretaker Saxon says, marked hadn't started yet, then looked over to where I was waiting on my upload on my LibriVox chapter. Guess that's a start. For those of you that don't know, LibriVox is a site where you can volunteer to narrate books in the public domain. Books in their entirety, or a section of the book, or a chapter of the book. You can choose what you want to narrate and sort of like claim it, right? I'll do this one. And then there's no real pressure of time. There's no exchange of money. You're volunteering. So it's a great place to sort of test the waters if you're not quite sure this is something you want to do in terms of narrating an audiobook or producing an audiobook. Because through that process, you're not only learning to narrate for long periods of time and seeing if you can sustain that, but you're also going through the steps of editing, formatting, mastering the files to adhere to their specific audiobook standard, which the formatting standard, which I believe, if memory serves, is pretty close to ACX and most other platforms. But side note, be sure you know the formatting standards for whatever audiobook distributor you or your client is going to be uploading to. But back to LibriVox, that whole process you will go through, from A to Z, the whole process of producing an audiobook. And you'll get to see, yes, I can do this. I figured it out. It's a great confidence builder, and it, all the pressure of money and time, for the most part, is off your shoulders. Jim's here. Hey, Jim. Greetings from Tennessee. Greetings to you. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Jim says, have found offers to be from scammers all the time in YouTube, why I ignore the offers now. Can't tell the legit ones until it's too late. You mean you find videos about scammers on YouTube, or you have people contacting you from YouTube? I see them in the VO section of Facebook. Okay, so people posting their experiences with people. Yeah, that's another great point. That's another reason why you should join groups, voiceover and audiobook groups on Facebook. Follow people on Instagram, TikTok, social media, period. Because you'll get to see not only maybe examples of what someone else is experiencing and how they've handled it, but you can also see questions about other companies, and you'll start to see and recognize names and trends and, different kinds of approaches, and then you'll learn through that what to look for. So another benefit to joining groups. Scammers show up in the VO pages in Facebook, and it's why I don't take any offers there. Tanya says, evening all from chilly Manchester, 10 degrees Celsius. I don't speak Fahrenheit. What is that? For those of you that know the quick conversion, cold is all I need to know. It's cold. No, thank you. I think it's 54 here in the desert. It's not too bad. Cold for me, but not too bad. David Brumfield says, hello from Hamilton, Ontario. Christine. Hey, Christine. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello. Jim says, I know it's a good idea to read about 3 to 5 minutes for an audition, but some authors don't give you more than a page to read. Then it's only a few paragraphs. You really only need 2 to 3 minutes for an audition. Unless they're looking for... I've seen all kinds of variants in terms of what the author will give you for what they want to hear for the audition. Sometimes it's a page, sometimes it's an entire chapter, sometimes it's specific scenes throughout the book because they want to see how you can handle different emotions or different situations. Perhaps different character voices, right? They want to see how you handle these things. Sometimes they will give you the book in its entirety, right? That doesn't mean that they want you. Whatever it is that they give you doesn't mean that you have to narrate the whole thing for the audition. It just means here's kind of an idea of what I'd like to hear. Just choose something. 2 to 3 minutes max is appropriate. Unless, of course, they went through the process of selecting specific scenes, then give them snippets of those specific scenes so that way they get what they're looking for and you can show them your range. But just because they give you an entire chapter doesn't mean that they want the entire chapter as the audition. It just means that I could only figure out how to slice out this chapter. Just choose a piece of it and use that as the audition. If an author perhaps does not provide anything specific for an audition, and this is on ACX, I have seen this on. If you're on ACX wanting to an audition for a book, but the author has not uploaded or provided any kind of copy for the audition at all, what you could do is go to the book's listing on Amazon, and there's typically a look inside where you can kind of look at a few of the pages. Use that as audiobook content. If they don't provide you anything to audition with, then you can either look up the book on Amazon and do what I just explained, or you could provide a demo just explaining, maybe they neglected to upload something for the audition copy or whatever the situation is. Just give them something. Maybe they didn't realize that their audition copy didn't upload, or maybe they forgot. You never know. We're all human. Reading time with Poppy, says Alex here. I haven't started yet, but I will next year. I'm not a New Year's resolution kind of guy. Coincidental timing. Finally got my YouTube videos started. Now I'll enjoy Christmas, then find paid work. At least you have a plan. Having a plan is step one, right? Carmen says, good afternoon, everyone, from a sunny Gainesville, Florida. 76? That sounds wonderful. Jim says, a large amount of money up front is a dead giveaway to me. My first project offered me $5,000 and promised to pay via PayPal. Yeah, it's almost like it's too good to be true, right? Especially if what they're explaining doesn't really justify such a large payout, right? If it's just a snippet of something, or perhaps, a 30,000 word book, that's not, $5,000. They're not going to seek out that kind of payout for an audiobook, just to follow along with my example, that is something that, A-list actors would see, or even B-list actors would see, to narrate an audiobook, not someone who has, and I'm not picking on you, Jim, so don't take this personally, but I mean just someone they found on YouTube, right? It's kind of too good to be true. So, but going back to audiobooks, because I don't want to forget to mention this. What I typically do if I'm approached with an offer for a per finished hour rate, I will tell the client or the author up front that I collect 50% of, I'll take like a deposit of 50% of the total amount for the book up front. And then the remainder, the other 50%, is due when the book is done and the revisions are done and the client is happy. What that does is that, scammers don't want to pay anything. So if they don't respond to that, or they balk, or whatever it is, then you know that they're just trying to take advantage. But that's the main reason why I do that. Not only that, but it'll cover my time if the author decides that they want to go a different direction, or if they want to go to a different distributor, or, maybe put a hold on creating this audiobook for whatever reason, right? And it doesn't have to be 50%. It could be 20%, it could be 30%, it could be whatever you decide it to be, but 50% is just easy numbers. So that's what I do. That'll help dissuade anyone from taking advantage of that aspect. Dwight says, hello, Angela and friends. I'm on the road lurking. Drive safe, Dwight. Lele says, I made a Fiverr profile by watching your YouTube video. I got a gig last week and made my first $4. Thanks a bunch for your guidance. Got pinged by a scammer, but Fiverr identified it as a scammer. Fiverr's actually pretty good about that stuff. And I think that comes from, if this particular scammer had maybe shotgunned out a bunch of different messages to a bunch of different people, and then those users reported him as a scammer, or perhaps they did it somehow, I'm not sure, through their own verification processes. But this brings up a good point. If you are on Fiverr, especially if you're starting out, and your inbox, if you go over to all messages and you can kind of filter through the messages. You can see the read, the unread, and then the spam box. Be sure to check your spam box often, because it's happened a few times where, let's just say it's the middle of the night, you're asleep, you get a message from a potential scammer, Fiverr identifies it as a scammer, and then they automatically move that message to the spam box, and you never saw it. It's still ticking away in that spam box with that time to respond, right? Because Fiverr wants to keep track of how quickly you respond to, the traffic they send to your profile or to your gigs. So you have to respond quickly. So if you don't see it, you don't know that it's there, therefore you can't respond to it. So periodically, I would say even daily, especially if you're just starting out, because that'll definitely skew your response time. Daily, go in there and check that spam folder and just, delete them. Because I think that when they're in your spam folder, you can't respond. They've removed them. So at least delete them. If you do receive a spam or a scam, message in your inbox on Fiverr, be sure to respond first. Don't just delete it. Don't just block them or report them. Respond first with a no thank you. Then block and report, because that will still count as a response, right? So just to cover your bases and to make sure that your response rate doesn't suffer, respond with a no thank you, and then block and report and all of those stuff. That stuff. Just Fiverr side note. Jim says, one of two scams responding in Upwork also promised a bunch of equipment to do the job. I throw those out as I have my own equipment. I don't want anything else. Yeah, anytime they want to send you anything or get you to download anything, or they need information from you, I think when they want to send you stuff, it's probably you go, oh yeah, no problem, I'll take the stuff. And then they'll send you a form to fill out for your address and all of your personally, you don't need to do all of that. Don't need to do all of that. Musical Neptunian says, one ironic point is I am blocked from Fiverr because I use an ad blocker for security. The FBI recommends using ad blockers for security and avoiding scams. They do, from, I think, most internet traffic, right? But Fiverr is very, what's the word I want to use? They're trying to protect their users from scammers by tracking like IP addresses and making sure that their users are consistent in where they are logging in from. That's one of the ways that they try to identify scammers, right? If they have multiple user accounts and then they log in from multiple places around the world, that could be identified by their algorithms as a scammer, right? So if you're using an ad blocker or a VPN or anything like that that blocks or makes it seem that you're not where you are, or there's something, that could be misidentified as a potential problem to their algorithms and you as a scammer. So yes, use ad blockers and things on, general internet traffic, but you're not going to receive ads or pop-ups on Fiverr. So turn them off when you're on Fiverr. Don't use a VPN when you're on Fiverr. It's not necessary for the Fiverr platform because they do all of that stuff, all the verification, security for you. But anywhere else, absolutely do it. Maybe not even Upwork, right? If you're on a specific website where you're doing business, there's not going to be any ads or anything. So turn them off when you're on those sites. That's probably what happened, right? I use Malwarebytes and McAfee, or is it McAfee or McAfee? I can never remember how to pronounce it, but I have software that will scan whatever I'm downloading, but ad blockers and things aren't necessary for those sites. Lele says, if this looks, was this a, yeah, this was a dupe. There's a duplicate. Gary Micheloni says, how about job offers to assist AI create voices? Most of those people I have found are pretty transparent about what they're asking for. They will say for machine learning, AI modeling, voice duplication, text-to-speech, they'll usually be upfront about what it is that they're looking for. If they aren't, and the script that they provide as a demo, an audition, a sample, they'll usually provide a script that is just typically random sentences that don't make any sort of sense. They're not cohesive. There's no real topic or like cohesive content idea. It's not like a fluid paragraph that really, it's just random stuff, like random words or random, like real elementary sort of sentences and words. That's usually how I can tell that's what it is, if it's not anything that makes sense. And those I'll say, no thank you. But I have found increasingly that most of those people, I wouldn't really even put those in like a scammer box anymore because they're typically upfront about what they're looking for. They're looking for someone to, be the voice to train their AI models, or voices to train their AI models. They're usually transparent about that anymore. Yeah, I just don't apply. You could if you wanted to. I mean, everyone's got their own way of doing business. I just don't. But yeah, most of those people just say, we'll tell you up front. That's what they're doing. Or if your spidey senses are tingling, you can ask them. You can also have them sign or agree to like some sort of an AI writer. If you go to Nava, I think it's nava.com, there are AI writers there that you can download, edit, and use, that you can ask a client to sign or agree to, that says that the voiceover that you provide is not going to be used in that manner. It's only going to be used in the manner in which you're discussing. It's not going to be duplicated, used to train AI models or anything like that. There are these things that you can do to protect yourself. In Season Ministries with Randy Johnson says, is Audiobook Scout still a good website to check out authors and books? You know what? I haven't been on Audiobook Scout for a while. Let's check it out together. Let's just put this to bed now, shall we? Audiobook Scout. Whoops, I didn't even see it. Did I misspell it? Is anybody still using Audiobook Scout? Audiobook Scout. For some reason, it's not even coming up on my... Let's see, let's try this way. Audiobook. Audiobook. Am I spelling it right? Audiobook Scout. I'm not even seeing it come up, but I'm probably typing it in wrong. There's still a Facebook page for Audiobook Scout. But to be honest, I haven't been on there, oh God, in months, because I haven't really auditioned for anything on ACX recently. But if Audiobook Scout is still an active thing, and I think I remember having trouble getting it to come up before because it was just like how it was spelled or something. I'm spelling it wrong. Or typing it in wrong. It was a good website to find more information about audiobooks, the red flags, to sort of filter finding books, although ACX has gotten a whole lot better about incorporating these elements with, natively within their own website, apart from the spotting of the red flags that Audiobook Scout did. I'll have to look and see if I can pull it up again. I don't have it. Do I have it bookmarked? I just want to check really quick and see if I have it bookmarked. I thought I did. I have a lot of bookmarks. Hold on. No, I don't. I guess I didn't. Thought I did. Anywho, if anybody has that information on Audiobook Scout, let me know. Let me know. Jim says, Upwork has had a few scammers. Yes, yeah. I have experienced scammers pretty much on every platform. You just have to ask questions, clarifying questions. Or ask them to, if they're giving you a link to click on, just ask them for a script or to copy and paste the text into the chat box. Right? There's nothing wrong with asking questions or clarifying. To clarify. Reading Time with Poppy says, scammers are clever. Thank you for doing this topic. It's good to be aware when getting into things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Jim says, some Upwork offers include using a Google Drive, and I don't know how to use that, but don't necessarily consider that offer a scam. Yeah, true. If it is a Google Drive link, they're usually sharing a folder that's got a script or video or references or briefs or something in it that you can access. And I mean, even before I click on that, just because I'm like super paranoid about clicking anything, I'll look at the user and see, again, if they've done business on this platform before, how much they've spent, their reviews, if there are any, if their payment method is verified. I'll do some research on that person before I click anything, right? But essentially, if it is, let's just say if it is a legit Google Drive sharing link, most of the time those are harmless unless there's, you just have to look at it and make sure that it just says Google Drive and then sharing, right? Has all of those things in it. But even then, it could still be, who knows where you're going when you click it. I know I'm probably just scaring the bejesus out of everybody, but let's just say if you click on a legit Google Drive folder sharing link, it'll take you to a folder on that person's Google Drive that has the information they're looking to provide you with to get the job done. That's it. Do you have to have your own Google profile? I've never had that question posed. I don't think you need to. Well, maybe you do. You might need to have your own Google profile to do that, but that's all that is. Andrew says, hi, Angela. Hi, Andrew. Here's one. They want to put some money in your bank account for you to use to buy equipment. Of course, they need access to your account. Yeah, that one's pretty obvious. But what it comes down to, ultimately, the best advice I can give you is to not click every link you see, especially in an initial message, and do your research, right? And don't share your personal information. There's no reason for them to have it. None. Even if they pose it in a way that Andrew had said, going back to what I said before, they wanted to give you equipment, but they need you to fill out a form for that or some sort of an onboarding form. They don't need any of that. They don't need anything other than your voiceover for the job. That's it on these platforms. Joel says, I'm late. Here's the donuts. Yes. Good, I'm hungry. Glowen says, hey, where's Caesar? And no pop in from Eric today. They must be busy. Well, look, what time is it in the Philippines for Caesar? I'm sure it's late. Lisa says, good morning, everyone, from extremely cold Alberta. Nope. Too cold for me. Glowen says to Joel, did you bring Boston cream? Jim says, I removed that post. Don't know why it showed because StreamYard, I don't think, differentiates when messages are retracted. I don't know. Glowen says, wow, 3 of us Canucks in here today. Hello, David and Lisa. I'm in frigid NB. Lisa says, 50 degrees. Okay, so yeah, that's not too bad. It's pretty close to that here. Or it was. It's already 61 now. Thanks, y'all. Lisa says, today in my backyard, it is negative 25 degrees Celsius. Negative 13. That's a big nope for me. Jim says, by the way, the one page I submitted sailed through Audiolab. It was unbelievable. Good for you. See, you're getting it down. You're getting down the formatting process. See, practice. Glowin says, not that frigid here, hovering around 0 degrees Celsius and rain, potentially freezing rain. Yeah, no, thank you. Johnny Wing says, hi all from Johnny W. in Cambridge. Florida D says 70. Gosh. Sounds lovely. Doesn't sound very Christmassy, though, if it's too warm. Too warm for Christmas. Jim says it was a text on linguistics and not well written. Author knew her topic, just didn't explain it well in the text. Not everybody is articulate. Naive says, good evening, ma'am. First time joining you live. No need for the ma'am. It's Ange. That works. I got interested in audiobook narration, and your channel has been helpful. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. Musical Neptunian says, Linux Geek. I am highly suspicious. And we should be. I think, especially nowadays, with anything that you do online, you should be second-guessing almost everything. And every person in every situation. It's sad that we have to, but you almost have to. Because there's somebody trying to take advantage of somebody everywhere, sadly. Brandon says, I actually made it this week. I was just in a creature voice workshop, so I'm late. Jelly donuts all around. Totally excusable. If you're in a creature voice workshop, that sounds like it was fun and tiring all at the same time. Jim says, I have NordVPN and they never have a problem with Fiverr. Adam says, should we be wary of auditioning for multiple titles that look like they've been dumped by the same author on ACX? What that tells me, if there is a singular author that has uploaded many books within days of each other or all in the same day, and they're all about maybe some sort of an evergreen topic on, like a how-to or, self-help in some way, shape, or form, it's probably written by AI. And with the help of this person, he collabed with ChatGPT to create a book. I wouldn't say that's necessarily a scam. However, I think at some point, Audible ACX is probably going to crack down on that kind of stuff, on AI written books. So if it's a royalty share or something like that, I wouldn't invest my time knowing that it has the potential to go away in the future. That would be the only real thing for me. Not necessarily a scam, but that's how I would look at that. Brandon says to Adam, I have seen that a lot lately. They look like AI created books. That's probably what it is. Sean Tyler says, McAfee and Malwarebytes are no bueno. They actually slow down most PCs. If you're Windows-based, I would say just stick with Windows Defender. Thank you for that. Florida D says, I was contacted via ACX from somebody I thought was a scam, but figured I'd let it play out. Ended up being a legit per finished hour work for an agent outside the U.S. I've had 2 paid jobs from them so far. Sorry, noisy water bottle. What made you think it was scammy? What was the element that made you think it was scammy? Because they were outside the U.S., or was it something they did or said, or how it was posed? Inquiring minds want to know. Musical Neptunian says, I've got the site up. I used a link in Narrator's Roadmap for Audiobook Scout. Audiobook and Scout are separate words. Okay, that's probably what I'm messing up. But yeah, Narrator's Roadmap, side note, is a great site with tons of information if you're looking to get into audiobooks. narratorsroadmap.com. Musical Neptunian then says, by the way, Narrator's Roadmap has a good section on avoiding scams. Yeah, it's a good resource site. Faux show. Dwight says, the eagle has landed. I am back in the studio. I have seen the $5,000 type of scam. Played along long enough to verify and figured out they were a money laundering scheme. PSV Odyssey says, question, have you ever signed a contract for a 9,300 word book and it turned into a 43,000 word book? I've had orders placed for the wrong amount of words before. I guess it just depends on where. If that was the situation, if you find yourself in that situation, I'll get back to you in a second, Paul. But if you do find, let's just say Fiverr, for example, they place an order for a 10,000 word book and it's really a 100,000 word book, like a 0 was omitted, whether intentionally or, just a boo-boo. You can send the client a message saying, hey, we've got a large discrepancy here in word count and therefore cost, so this is what we need to do to fix it, and send them an offer with the word count difference. But this is why I always ask to see if you're conversing with someone about a project and it's an audiobook and they tell you, hey, it's it's a 16,000 word book. How much is this going to cost me? You say, based on your word count of 16,000 words, this is how much it would be. But may I see the manuscript before we get started? I want to see if I'm comfortable with the content. I want to verify the word count. I want to see if I have any questions before we get started, so on and so forth. And then once they give you the manuscript, I try to not start a job without seeing the manuscript first, because I want to verify the word count to make sure that that 16,000 word book they said they had was not a 160,000 word book, right? That way I can say, oops, it looks like you might have omitted a zero. This is how much it's actually going to cost because it's, it looks like you made a typo. But I've never signed a contract without verifying first. But on platforms where people can just place an order, there are ways that you can correct it or try to correct it before you start with that order. But always ask to see the manuscript up front. Not only to verify the word count, but content. If they tell you that, let's just say, for example, this is an easy example. If they tell you it's a romance book and you're okay with light vanilla romance, but then they send you the manuscript and it's a whole lot deeper, darker, dirtier, whatever it is, content that you're not comfortable with, then you can say, this might be, belong in a different category other than romance. So I'm not comfortable with this content. Or maybe it's political, maybe it's religious, whatever it is, you're not comfortable with it. If you ask to see that manuscript up front, it'll save you a whole lot of time and effort and, issues in the future if you can verify the content, verify the word count, and see if there are any questions that you might have about, what they want included, if there's an about the author, if there's dedications, if there's, different sections that are typically not included with an audiobook, but you can ask them, do you want these included or not? Right? Always ask to see the manuscript up front if you can. Joy says, hello everyone from a chilly, cloudy Southfield, Michigan. Good morning, Joy. Dwight says, Caesar is not feeling well today. Oh, Caesar. He had to reschedule our weekly from this morning to tomorrow. And it's 1:42 a.m. in the Philippines on Wednesday. Crazy. Dwight says 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Christine says McDonald's has Krispy Kreme donuts if anyone wants to virtually DoorDash. They do? Does McDonald's carry Krispy Kreme donuts now? Interesting. Florida D says Christmas is a state of mind. Yeah, it would have to be in 78 degrees. Masonry Construction says on Upwork and Fiverr, you absolutely have to stay on their platform. So if a prospect is insisting you have to use their form or go to their platform, they are violating terms of service. Stay away. And I think a lot of times, just to kind of talk about maybe misidentifying a scammer, when you sign up for any kind of platform, you have to read the agreements and the terms of service. And how often do you actually read those? Probably never, if ever. There's probably a small percentage of people who actually read through that stuff. So, in the same vein, our clients are signing up for places like Fiverr. They don't read the terms of service. They don't know that you can't share personal information like an email address or a website or, whatever it is. And so they ask you for that information because they want to add it to their Google Drive access. They want to add it to Slack. They want to do this and that with it, not knowing that you can't share that stuff. So when they ask you to do it, don't automatically assume that they're a scammer. That doesn't automatically mean that they're a scammer. It just means they did not read the terms of service. They don't know that you can't do that. So you, as the seller, have to say, I'm sorry, but I cannot share personal contact details with you per this site's terms of service. So what I can do is ask you to just share the Google Drive share link with me. We can do that, but I can't give you any of what you're asking for because it will violate this site's terms of service. That's how I respond to that. But it doesn't automatically mean that they're a scammer. They just probably don't know you can't do that. But you telling them that will prevent them from, potentially getting in trouble later on with someone who doesn't know, right? Getting both of those users in trouble. Dwight says, I was on the road, so do I have to bring donuts? No. I have a cookie weekend's worth of Christmas cookies. I want Christmas cookies. That'll work. Jim Williams says, I see some books of the How It Works variety, and the author is the same. I mean, it could be written by AI, but it's hard to say. I've known authors to do this kind of thing before ChatGPT was a thing, right? They'll just write a bunch of sort of generic topic books, almost like shortcuts, like the how to, what's that famous line of books, the dummies, geometry for dummies, or basket weaving for dummies, whatever it is. There's a lot of those kinds of books out there, and there was a lot of authors who found, they found success with that sort of, type of book, that genre of book, because they are evergreen, right? People looking for information are going to go find your book for the Cliff's Notes, basically, on that particular topic, whatever it is. Right? So I wouldn't necessarily just automatically say that's an AI written book. I would take a look at the audition script and perhaps how recently they were written, and just trust your instincts. If it feels like it's sort of surface level and they might have been just pumped out, I don't know, but I wouldn't say it's automatically that way. These days, more than likely, I would think, right, if it's a relatively new author. Dwight says to Adam, Angela is mostly correct. Thanks. I verify every script via Grammarly for AI verification. You could do that too. If it is 25% or less, I will audition. If it is more, I will not. There you go. Tools. Florida D says, because they didn't actually have a project on ACX, they said they listened to my demo on ACX and the voice matched what they were looking for. I was like, who? Me? I've had that happen too, where people will, they'll do that with your samples, right? Because as I always say, 60% of jobs booked on ACX come from auditions. The other 40% comes from you posting your samples. So it could be that this particular author does not want to be exclusively on Audible on ACX. They want to have, more flexibility. So they want to be on Audible, they want to be on Findaway, they want to put it on YouTube, whatever. And they don't want to solicit auditions. They want to go find their own narrator. That's how they do it. And then they'll reach out to you directly and say, hey, I listened to your sample. You're exactly what we're looking for. How do we get started? Dylan says, sorry, I have to head out early. I got slammed with Fiverr and Upwork orders yesterday. Good for you. While still trying to finish up 2 books. That might be a slight humble brag, but it's your fault I'm getting work. No, Dylan, that's your fault you're getting work. It's well-deserved. Not surprising. Florida D says, bye, Dylan. Also just finished that book today. Enjoyed it. Dylan says, thanks. Glad you liked it. Second one should be out shortly. Paul says, it was my second offer for an audiobook on ACX. They wouldn't let me see the manuscript without buying the book. I don't like that. They should have, if they are the author and they wrote the book, they have to have a digital format of that book in order to upload it to different places, right? They have to have a digital format of that book that they can just go, okay, you're going to be my potential audiobook narrator. I'm just going to share the book with you. If they're demanding that you buy it, I've had an author do that to me a couple times. I've had a couple authors, I should say, do that to me a couple times but in these instances, they didn't have the digital copy because the book, and I verified this, the book had been published, decades before. They're just now getting around to creating an audiobook version. But if they just flat out say, no, buy the book, that's a little off-putting. But what I would do in that situation is add that cost to your per finished hour rate to the invoice. Because they should have it to provide to you as a tool, as a basic tool to produce this audiobook. In-Season Ministries with Randy Johnson says, Angela, do you still have courses in development on your site? I have a couple. I've been trying to finish. I have a couple other ones that have been trying to finish for a while, but I'm looking at bringing more courses to my website. I think all I have available at the moment is Success Mindset and the Healing with Your Voice, which is meditation, affirmations, hypnosis, and ASMR on my site. But I'm in the middle of reworking the Upwork, the Fiverr. Actually, the Fiverr one's going to be huge. It's going to be a whole lot bigger and more in-depth than it was before. But because of the gravity of this, it's taking a while to finish. Joy says, how about double-decker fudge brownies since I was late? Oh, Joy. You're speaking my language. Yes, all the For Dummies books. Yes. Same learned in 24 hours. Dwight says, for Dummies, books are a publishing house's product and are master expert written. The current how-to titled books are a new publishing house that is using AI to write their books. And will launch between 5 and 10 books all on the same day. There are others that do the same thing. Everyone wants to get rich quick. Ewell Akers says, on places like ACX, I try to do third-party verification, like linking or other third-party sites, if it exists, if they claim to be someone of more note. If book under publisher, often do voice and house. Sometimes, I mean, publishers have rosters of narrators, but eventually you want to be on that roster. And sometimes there are very small publishing companies, indie publishers, that don't have their own roster, and they hire freelancers to narrate the books for their company. So that's not always the case. Jim says, so how do you verify AI creation with Grammarly? That's a new wrinkle. I've never done that. So, I mean, Dwight has the secret sauce on that. So we can get Dwight to chime in on that. Tanya says to Perurna or Lele, congratulations on your first gig. Lele says, thank you so much. Brandon says, at Psy, that is against terms of service. They have to give you a copy of it if it's on ACX. Yeah, they shouldn't make you buy a copy. Dwight says to Paul, I would contact ACX and see if that's a violation of ACX policy. Masonry Construction says ACX requires that first a book be published on Kindle, which puts it into print, which means that a search for the script should give a positive result, meaning it's not necessarily AI. Just saying. Jim says 12:05. It's afternoon and I'm gone to lunch. Enjoy your lunch, Jim. Paul says, thank you, Dwight. Masonry Construction says, a beautiful narrator experience Sunday. I was the reader for a Christmas choir orchestra concert in our church. About 10 Bible passages. So great for narrating and absorbing. Try it. Yeah, live reading will definitely build your confidence. I mean, once you're done. Dwight says, don't forget to like, follow, and share this site. Yes, please. Don't forget to hit that like button and share my content if you feel that that's helpful. If you're watching in Team Replay, at least subscribe. You know, you never know when I'm going to have something. I mean, every once in a while I have something at least entertaining, if not informational. Anywho, but Thank you for that, Dwight. All right, you guys, it's about that time. If you are watching in Team Replay and there's something that you want to talk more about with me and the community here that joins every week, then, leave your comments down below. Maybe it'll be a topic for a future live chat, and help somebody else out. Somebody that might be a little bit too afraid to ask. I find that people are too often concerned about asking a stupid question or a newbie question, or they would rather not ask the question. It could be the same question that, 100 other people are wanting to ask, but feel the same way, that it's just too stupid or whatever. No question is stupid. It's a question. Just ask it. Anywho, ask the questions. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But anyway, I'll see you guys all next week. And for those of you in my platinum group, I'll see you all on Thursday. Let's see if I can get this outro to work this time. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Let's see if I can get it.